Buenas noches, Moonriders. It's me, Mr. Gio, and I'm here to read you your another good night story. But before I start that, I just wanted to give you another friendly reminder that tomorrow, Friday, at 11 a.m., we will have our first live Zoom meeting, and it'll just be like our normal morning group meeting. I think we're gonna say hi, hello, get all the excitement out because I'm sure we're gonna be very excited to see all of our friends. Once we're done with that, we'll move into doing our good morning songs and probably sing days of the week, los días de la semana. We'll also probably sing the more we get together and do our names. And then after that, Miss Dora will have a fun flannel story for you. And then after that, we probably can talk about just how we've been, what we've been doing, and how we are doing just with having to stay in our homes and maybe some of the fun things we're doing at home. Maybe you can share what you're doing so that the rest of us don't feel so bored because staying at home can get a little boring. But if we all share what we're doing, maybe we'll inspire some more fun ideas. Okay, so anyways, I will be sending an email to your mommies and daddies tomorrow, or actually along with this video, and another one in the morning just to remind them and help them to find our Zoom meeting because it can be a little tricky because even I was a little confused at first, but we all need to learn so we can stay connected and stay safe while at home. So anyways, here's tonight's story. It is Cinderella, and I'm sure most of you know this story because it's Disney, and if you actually haven't, there you can actually see the story online if you have Disney Plus, which I think most of you do. And if you don't, you might want to get it because there's kind of not much else to do when you're at home. Anyways, this is Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Cinderella. She lived with her stepmother. The stepmother did not like Cinderella. She made her work very hard every day. Cinderella had two sisters. Their names were Drizella and Anastasia. The stepsisters never had to work. They just pranced around the house in their fancy dresses, and they always made fun of Cinderella because her dress was so plain. One day a letter came to the house. "Drizella, Anastasia," cried the stepmother, "listen to this." She read the letter. It said, "The king is giving a ball tonight. His son, the prince, will choose a wife. Every girl in the kingdom must be there." Ooh. "Then I can go too," said Cinderella. "You?" cried the stepsisters, and they laughed and laughed. "But it says every girl in the kingdom must be there," said Cinderella. The stepmother smiled and said, "Of course you may go, Cinderella. You may go if you do your work first, and if you have a dress to wear." "Okay, thank you," said Cinderella, and she ran up to her room. Yay! Some mice lived in Cinderella's room. They were Cinderella's friends. She had even made little clothes for them. "Guess what?" she cried. "I'm going to the ball at the palace." "Hooray!" cried the mice. Then she showed them an old dress. "It just needs a little mending," said Cinderella, "and maybe a sash and some beads to make it pretty." "Yes, yes, Cinderella," said the mice. "Cinderella," called the stepmother. Cinderella went downstairs. "I want you to clean the floor and wash the windows and dust the drapes," said the stepmother. "But I did that yesterday," said Cinderella. "Do it again," said the stepmother. Cinderella worked as fast as she could, but there was always one more thing to do. "Cinderella! Cinderella! Cinderella!" "Oh dear," said Cinderella, "I will never have time to mend my dress." Oh, so it seems like they're keeping her busy on purpose. It's not a nice choice. It's kind of like they're teasing her. "They make Cinderella work, work, work," said a fat mouse named Gus. "She will have no time to fix her dress," said a skinny mouse named Jack. "We can do it," cried the mice. "We can fix it, Cinderella's dress." Gus and Jack sneaked into a big room. The stepsisters were dressing for the ball. "I hate this old sash," said Drizella, and she threw it down. "I never want to see these beads again," said Anastasia, and she dropped them on the floor. Jack grabbed the sash. Gus picked up the beads. They took them to Cinderella's room. "Look, we found these," said Gus. "Now we can make Cinderella's dress really pretty," said Jack. They measured, they cut, they folded, they sewed, they worked and worked as fast as they could, and hours went by quickly. Work, work, work. Cinderella had to help the stepsisters with their dresses. When she was done, the stepmother said, "It's time to go to the ball, girls. Are you ready, Cinderella?" "No," said Cinderella sadly. "I did not have any time to fix my dress." "Too bad," said the stepsisters. "You must learn to work faster," said the stepmother. They watched Cinderella go up her room. It's kind of like they're rubbing it in her face. Yeah. When Cinderella opened the door, she saw something wonderful. Her dress was ready. "Surprise!" cried the mice. "It's the prettiest dress I've ever seen," said Cinderella, and she put it on. Cinderella ran down the stairs. "Wait," she called. "I can go now. I have a dress." The stepmother and the stepsisters could not believe their eyes. "My sash!" cried Drizella. "My beads!" cried Anastasia. They ripped off the sash. They pulled off the beads. Cinderella's dress was ruined. "Come along, girls," said stepmother. "The prince is waiting for you." And off they went to the palace. Cinderella was left behind. Wow. They're not being nice to Cinderella. Not nice at all. Cinderella ran into the garden. The mice ran after her. "How I did wish to go to the ball," said Cinderella. But it's no use. Wishes never come true." "Never, my dear?" said a voice. Cinderella looked up. There was a little woman with a wand. "I'm your fairy godmother," she said. "I'm here to give you your wish." "Now let me see," said the fairy godmother. "I need a pumpkin and a horse and a dog. What luck! They're right here. Ah, and yes, I will need some mice." When the mice heard this, they began to run, but the fairy godmother stopped them with her wand. "Now for the magic words," she said. "Bippity boppity boo." I wonder what's going to happen. She waved her wand. The pumpkin turned into a coach, and the horse turned into a coachman. The dog turned into a footman, and the mice turned into a white horse. Or white horses. "Now hop in, my dear," said the fairy godmother. "But my dress," said Cinderella. "Oh my," cried the fairy godmother. "I almost forgot." She waved her wand again. Cinderella looked down. Her dress turned into a white gown. Her shoes turned into glass slippers. "Oh, thank you," said Cinderella. "Now hop into the coach," said fairy godmother. "But remember, all the magic ends when the clock strikes 12. "I won't forget," said Cinderella, and she went off to the palace. Hopefully she remembers. At the ball, the king was complaining. "The prince has met all the girls in the kingdom," he said, "and he has not found one he likes." "Give him time," said the Grand Duke. "He's had enough time," cried the king. Just then Cinderella came into the ballroom. When the prince saw her, he bowed. "May I have this dance?" he asked. "Yes," said Cinderella. Ooh, things are getting good. All night the prince danced only with Cinderella. They danced her on the floor as if in a dream. Everyone said, "How lovely she is. Who can she be?" The hours went quickly. Suddenly the clock began to strike midnight. Cinderella ran down the palace steps. As she ran, she lost a glass slipper. When the prince reached the steps, Cinderella was gone. He picked up the tiny glass slipper. "The girl who wore this slipper is the girl I want to marry," said the prince. He told the Grand Duke to find her. Wow, lucky Cinderella. And that prince seems pretty nice too. Even before Cinderella was home, the magic ended. The coach turned back into a pumpkin, the coachman turned back into a horse, the footman turned back into a dog, and there were Cinderella and the mice, just as before. The next day, the Grand Duke took the glass slipper to every house in the kingdom. At last, he came to the house where Cinderella lived. Cinderella was up in her room. I wonder if her stepmom's going to let her try this slipper. Let's find out. First, Drizella tried the slipper. Her foot was much too big. Then Anastasia tried the slipper. Her foot was much too wide. "Are there any other girls in the house?" asked the Grand Duke. No, said the stepmother. Just then Cinderella came downstairs. Who is this? Asked the Grand Duke. She's only the maid, said the stepmother. I don't care, said the Grand Duke. She too must try the slipper. Oh, so she gets a chance after all. How sweet. It fits perfectly. Oh. Then Cinderella reached in her pocket and pulled out the other glass slipper. The Grand Duke bowed to Cinderella. You are the girl the prince says he must marry, said the Grand Duke. So Cinderella went to the palace and married the prince, and they lived happily ever after. The end. That is a nice story. Very lovely. So, my friends, I hope you enjoyed that. Sweet dreams. Listen to your mommies and daddies. And remember, tomorrow we're having our first Zoom meeting. And I will send a reminder email tonight to mommy and daddy. And we will also send one tomorrow in the morning to mommy and daddy. Have a good night. Bye.